join the as a speaker. I'll let you Excalibur and you guys to take it on from here. Well, just moderate. So if anyone wants to hop on as a speaker, just click request to speak or let me know in the chat, and I'll put you on.
Sounds good.
What do you think, X?
Well,
What are your thoughts, man?
I guess the biggest elephant in the room is the pause. I guess we can start there and what that means, and I mean, there's so many different branches we can go from there as far as the sentiment, as far as directions that Hyliion can go with that, if any direction at all. Um, what are your initial thoughts on the pause?
I think that you know, as far as the pause itself, it doesn't bother me. What bothers me the most is the lack of communication. As I said in my other video, I think that there was a lot that could have been done to maybe mitigate the impact that probably wasn't done. So that was probably the most disappointing part to me. I'm really looking forward to the Q3 earnings call to see what type of stuff they can potentially give us there. But that was really the baddest part about it to me. You know, if they said we're stopping because of X, Y, and Z, Carno this, ERX that, it might have been a different story, I think. But that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. Hyliion hasn't been the best of sentiment. They could have done a number of things like you mentioned. I think what they've done so far, they've really destroyed the trust that people had in them. One of the many characteristics of a company that thrives and lasts is being able to pivot. And I mentioned this in the Discord. With all of Hyliion's pivots, it's really destroyed what the faith you can have in them. You don't know what the next pivot is,
Right.
which is a consequence of that trait.
I think a lot of it too has to do with all of us here, we're still bullish. We still believe it. We still understand what this company can do if executed properly. But, obviously over the last couple of weeks now, since this has occurred, or week and a half, a lot of people have sold out. A lot of people have, said, Thomas is a piece of shit or whatever you want to say. Which, some of that, is a rightful assumption, a rightful, determination. But I think that if they would have or still have time to give us, what kind of direction they want to go with Carno, which I'm very excited about. How much it's going to cost, how much, where's what the reach of it is going to be. Government contract capabilities, stuff like that. I think that's going to be really important going forward, especially in order to avoid having to extend their deadline on, potential delisting, potential reverse split, because no one wants to go into that territory.
I agree. I also think that we need to put our caution lights on as far as the next earnings call, because if Hyliion is in negotiations with a partner, we might not get anything because of that silent period. They might not be able to say anything about other than they're still in the pause. They're still going through review. So I just caution people to I wouldn't get my hopes up too much. If they say something, great, but I'm not expecting them to say anything, because if, like I said, if there's some sort of partnership or merger or anything like that, if we're assuming that, those kind of dealings and contracts can take months before the lawyers hash everything out, and that's if they do it right the first time. So I think I think the earnings call will be a little early to hear anything. I totally expect the earnings call to be all things Carno, especially since they're about to start kind of getting things moving in 2024 as far as trialing it and putting it out there to see what it can do. I really think that they're going to focus on that elephant and ignore the bigger one, just because they can't really talk about it.
Right. One of the things that me and my buddy at work, he's also an investor in Hyliion. We talk about it quite often. Um, is the fact that, at least my personal sentiment is, I think that Hyliion itself, Thomas Healy specifically, was very over leveraged when they're trying to pursue ERX with the partnership with Cummins. They're trying to pursue Carno, which requires not only a partnership with Packer, but also these 3D printing machines that, one, are not cheap and two, are not plentiful. So the partnership with that, I believe that's going to have to be outsourced to mass produce it. Now, we all know that in order to make it affordable, it's going to have to be mass produced. So I think that that's another big aspect that they really have to get a grasp on what that's going to look like, because I think they didn't quite get the grasp on what the ERX project would look like up until this last few weeks, and it was going to be unattainable. So that's why they had to take a strategic pause and say, hey, what are we really doing here? Where can we focus our energy at that's going to better serve not only us but the investors in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I see silent alert, so I'm curious what his thoughts are about the pause.
Oh, so I'm just
Hey, morning,
inviting
guys.
Strider
Can you hear me?
to as a speaker as well.
Hey, go ahead, Andrews.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm
I
just letting Strider into the chat.
go ahead, Andreas.
No, I just wanted to make let everyone know that I'm inviting you, and I'll give it over to Silent Alert.
Okay.
Morning, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Oh, good. Hey, yeah, so I share your sentiment as well, and I sort of ran a couple of polls on Twitter just to kind of gauge an idea what does community think abroad, because obviously with the stock price going down, we definitely know the good retail portion already sold, and rightfully so, but also uh, that echoes as well on the Twitter with the polls as well, and along with other couple of questions too. My only concern with the pivot is I'm never against the pivot, but when you're in a company for 3 years with no sales, no product, I mean, we just commercialize the product. As soon as we commercialize, we pivot, you lose that trust and sentiment from the retail investor, right? So uh, the whole industry is very liquid and fluid, and it always moves and shifts, especially with the macros and uh, the freights being at the lowest prices for shipments as well, and we can kind of see a lot of companies going bankrupt and being sold. So it is an ever moving market, but you also have to choose your stance and start to commercialize at least to the point where you're gauging some sales. It might not be 200, 500,000, but gauge some sales to get a little bit of trust from the community to get your product in the hands of clients so they can validate it. So version 1 kit comes out, version 2 comes out, you have a product that evolves. So to me, my sentiment is I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm not going to lie about it, definitely. And sort of when I ran a poll, should Thomas Healy remain to be a CEO? To me, when I ran that poll, my only understanding is going to be is if VRX is going to be revived let's say we pause it for a couple of months and we'll move on until we evaluate it and we'll bring it back in 6 months and whatnot. As long as ERX is still on the table, in my opinion, Thomas should be a CEO. But if there's a complete pivot, stating we're going to pause it for a couple of months or years or indefinitely, we're going to fully focus on Cardno, I don't think. I think there should be a change in a CEO. There should be a new face because you need to regain that trust, and you're going to lose a lot of trust with the CEO currently that you have if you completely pivot, abandon ERX, which 99% of investors were holding Hyliion shares because of that product. So I just want to see what's your take on having a Thomas Healy as a CEO going further.
Okay. Can I talk now? You're
Yeah,
referring
go
to
ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I personally think that Thomas Healy should move to a chief technology officer. I know it's sentimental for some people; they get riled up when I say that. The reason being, a person who is technically sound doesn't mean that he is business oriented. And the moves that Thomas Healy has done so far, I'm not comfortable, or I don't see the aggressiveness. Being in a heavy equipment industry for almost 15 years, I understand how the managers would move at a higher level from business standpoint. I didn't see that here. That's my first point. The second point I want to talk about is during the meeting, they said that whatever pause they have put together or they're putting now is could result nothing. But as for compliance, they are letting the shareholders know. So I'm thinking, if I'm a wise person, I have. So if you look at ERX, it's a generator connected to an electrical powertrain, right? So the supplementary thing and the thing that is in between the generator and the powertrain is the battery pack. I don't see why that battery pack can be scaled up and take the engine out of the hood, and still it's similar to an electric truck that's being sold. So instead of pivoting completely to Carno and expect the genset generators to be more profitable, I would say like work on something that already is in place and try to improve it. So they didn't talk about that. So I am heavily invested in Hyliion. The only reason is the technology that they have, like having an engine as a generator and doing the power to run the powertrain. That's a very good solution from fuel efficiency standpoint. Um, and I see that many people, like all the electrical big trucks, say that, oh, we can support the charging and all that stuff, but I don't know, they are not saying it completely. Um, the state of charge, health of batteries is very crucial, and there will be fire accidents. So again, I don't want to go into the technical details, but my point is the current ERX truck can be modified to be an electric truck with a shorter range and faster charge rate. Like Thomas Healy said, 8 minutes for the battery pack that we have. So that's not being worked on. And we are trying to implement on a power source like Carno, which is, I see it have more like a fusion reactor, which will be developed in next 10 years for the last 30 years. And as an investor, if they keep on wasting resources on things that are not generating revenue, I'm not okay. And that's what I'm upset about more. Until the last quarter or 2 quarters before, until this CARB approval or before they completed the powertrain development, I was very nervous because he kept on pushing the timelines out and out and out. And I'm not sure if he's going to deliver or not. But now that we have it, abandoning that is the most uh, illogical thing if you are a CEO. A CEO should pivot from what he already has and try to feed that revenue to the new product development. With that, I almost lost most of my investment, like about 80% down. I don't see why I should pull out instead, buy more, because even if Thomas Healy is not strong leader, there will be out in the market who are very knowledgeable and know how to make a product marketable. They will fish for the companies like Hyliion, and they would certainly acquire it. Again, that might not be the case, but here is something that they said they're going to pause, but it might not turn out to be like a complete stop on ERX. If they come out saying it's a complete stop on ERX, then we should be really worried about it.
I'd say a couple of things as far as the ERX. Won't go running on battery. I think you're referring to the LTO configuration as far as the 8-minute charge. And unfortunately, the LTO was not made for distance. That's why they switched to the LFP battery system. And that would just put them in the same range as everyone else. And at that point, they would be competing directly against Peterbilt, against the eCascadia. It really wouldn't benefit them. There'd be so much more competition if they entered that, and I think that would lessen their chances at success. I think the environment, like Simon mentioned before, really affects what's going on as far as the decisions Hyliion has been making. To kind of pigeonhole them into making kind of dwindling their options, which is one of the drawbacks of waiting so long to when they pushed things back for the first time, because they were expecting things to get better. Overseas, things are getting worse. As I look at other people's earnings calls, and I pay attention to other companies to see um, if there's any validity in what Thomas is saying, you see that other companies are suffering as well. So I think that I personally don't think that Hyliion is being malicious. I think they're being as cryptic, cryptic, cryptic as most companies. They don't want to put their hand out there. I think that they have, like I said before, their pivots have made them unreliable in a sense. But if you look at companies that last, that go the distance, that this is a normal characteristic of them. They tend to put the shareholder value at the very back end of their priority list. Not making excuses for Javier, just kind of giving what what may be going on. That being said, I think that all criticism like on Twitter and everywhere else is warranted because like Ryan said, they're a publicly traded company. If you act this way, as far as lack of clarity, then you make yourself a target for people that have appropriate questions. Um, I actually didn't mind seeing Hank on Twitter. Usually Hank used to bother me back in the day, but all Leon has paid them.
I think we're having a little trouble with your mic there, X. A little connectivity issue.
Yeah, X. I'm not saying like Hyliion is doing this maliciously or with a malicious intent. But what I'm saying is they are not um, being aggressive. So every time we see these new CEOs with so much background coming to the board of directors, we cheered. But I don't see really the guys who are so experienced making decisions here. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think this was, my personal belief. I think there may have been a little bit of a hard nudge from the board of directors in relation to Thomas and how he was pushing all of these fronts. And the board of directors kind of said, "Hey, dude, we're going to have to take a step back and really evaluate whether all of this is going to be possible, and we're going to have to focus our attention." And unfortunately, I don't want to think that Hyliion, and Thomas Healy are deceitful and stuff like that. But unfortunately, as a human being, that's how most all of us felt, because just a week prior, everything was on track with ERX. And then 7, 8 days later, all of a sudden it's gone. So if they can restructure in a way to say, hey guys, first of all, we apologize, and saying, hey, during this time we've done X, Y, and Z, and to show the investors and the other people that are involved, that they actually do have their shit together, and they're saying, hey, we found viable alternatives, we found 3D printing avenues for Carno, but I personally still, with all the talk about Cummins and Packer and possible mergers and stuff, I think a lot of that has some serious weight as well, with the possibilities of that. And I think that obviously they're going to have a tight-lipped service on that until they can be made public. But either way, I think that there's several ways out of this. I just hope that they're able to at least explore a couple different ones so they don't put all their eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the 3D printing of Carno, even if they're 3D printed, there are certain qualifications that has to be met because these are stationary generators, and stationary gen sets are can be fire prone or explosive if they are not careful. I know this is just a different style of generator, but still the fuel sources and any leaks, those are all has to be addressed. And 3D printing, they are building rockets, but if you look about rockets, it's like only one in thousand, so they can make so many iterations, print so many parts, and get the best part of it. And if we are trying to do the mass produce on 3D printing, that's not a solution that should be perceived, in my opinion. I mean, they can, but I think we have to we have to think about the mergers. I tried to think about mergers as a potential source. Reason being, Cummins was one of my thing because I was thinking like, okay, we have a 12-liter Cummins engine along with our transmission is approved, and also the Meritor, the transmission electrical motors was bought by Cummins. If I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. So I think they can drive the price higher for Hyliion powertrain because one of the core integral part is the motor. I would say if they would invest in a company that can make motors, electrical motors at a cheaper price for Hyliion, that would be more in line with what reducing the price of the overall ERX and make it um, more want wantable, or what do you say,
Desirable.
more desirable. Yeah, that's sorry, desirable. That's my thought.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, too, one of the biggest obstacles that they're going to have to overcome is the price. Now, I think that in order for it to be really competitive, they're going to have to get it down to closer to 300. The 440 with a $40,000 tax cut, I don't think that's going to cut it. I think that a real partnership with Cummins would be able to truly facilitate that. The getting the parts, or maybe obviously not having to buy the parts. Maybe if there's a merger, or if there's some sort of other partnership that can be had, that would be fruitful. But obviously, no one here today knows what the true direction of Hyliion is because no one said anything. So I think
Yeah,
both different avenues, different directions are totally plausible and will totally get us out of this gutter. But once again, I think the execution and their communication has to really improve. Obviously, no company ever gives a step by step roadmap, every single step, but getting some sort of indication as to what their plans are would be really helpful.
yeah. Even on the quarterly meetings, it's just like 10 minutes meeting call. I think they can give us more meat. I mean, show their where they want to go instead of just saying, okay, this is what we have done, this is what we are going to do. I mean, that has been the way it is, and until this pivot point.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just step in as well a little bit. So I agree with everything you guys have said, but also if you look at the current truck prices, I mean, they went from mid high 50s to now $250,000, even for the brand new trucks that are not even electric, they're diesel. So you're, everything is going up in value. So the fact that ERX is going to be in low 400s, of course, that's an extremely high cost to burden, especially if you don't have a return on your investment. But with use of natural gas, there is a pathway to that. But I truly think is if they were to partner with Cummins, they'll be able to get that ERX down substantially because all the components, such as the generator, Meritor, everything else, there's a markup on it that Cummins sell, especially when you walk up to Cummins and say, we're going to build 10 ERXs. They're going to give you a high markup. But if you come to them and say, we're going to build 1,000 ERXs, they're going to give you a lower markup. But if Cummins has some skin in the game with Hyliion, there might be no markup, so the cost is going to come substantially down. Obviously, there's going to be a profit sharing aspect to it. But I think if they were to partner with Cummins, because ERX is mainly Cummins for the major of the components, they might be able to get that cost down to mid or high 300s after the credit. Now you have a product that's only maybe 100,000, 120,000 more expensive than your regular diesel brand new units. However, now you also have a pathway to recover that cost with RNG. So I think partnership is a good strategic move if that's in works.
In addition to that, not only will there be a cost savings, there'll also be a bump in credibility because I think that the obviously the Cummins name is very well known throughout the world. So if something comes out that says Cummins decides to partner with Hyliion, which is at this point relatively unknown other than to us and a few others, I think that would be huge.
I
Yeah.
agree with
Yeah.
the comment.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I agree with the comment. One more thing that I left for Carno, um, scaling up, is that to mass produce that Carno machine, I just don't think the if there is a demand for 100 Carno machines, simple 30, 40 3D printers would do it is not a solution for production. So I don't think that's I will not put my baskets in Carno if I'm Thomas Healy. And that's
Well,
one.
here's. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And the second thing is I still trust in Hyliion. I invested money and I don't have any worry about losing money at this point because we have a product that is worth making us sit at the dealing table at least with another person, another company like Cummins.
Here's my thing about the Cummings deal. In addition to the Carno, Cummings is also a big player in the stationary generator sector. So if Cummins partners with Hyliion, they do get the they could get the drivetrain business to help bolster their clean energy portfolio, but they can also do that on the generator side as well, the stationary generator sector. They can also partner with Hyliion in that endeavor. That would alleviate a lot of the potential problems that Hyliion might face down the road, like the problems they're facing with the ERX as far as money and parts and supply chain, securing the supply chain. And also, as far as the 3D generators, there's nothing saying, to my knowledge, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing saying that the Cardinal has to stay a 3D generator option. The 3D generator, in the beginning, they were mentioning say it was for research and development. It helped expedite R&D. They didn't have to use reductive manufacturing to come up with a part that didn't work. They could just print it off. If it didn't work, if it didn't optimize the product, they could print off another one and try something else. And it really helped expedite the process, the R&D process. There's nothing, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, it's saying that they can't go back to the regular manufacturing of the Cardinal. It doesn't have to be 3D printing.
Yeah.
And if
So
that's
I want to give you one snippet on that 3D design. I looked at our Carno design. I looked at the internal components of that Carno generator, and those are hard to manufacture. Those are hard to manufacture, and I have 15 years of experience in manufacturing and design. They were able to do it because with the 3D printer, it's easier to get those thin channels. I mean, if you see there are cut sections, it's like a block that has to be built. And because this is like recovery of heat, if they have any leaks in those assemblies, they will lose this plume or a hot liquid out. So there is a reaction chamber they were talking about. I looked at the design. That's a very intrinsic design with a 3D printer that can be achieved. With a regular manufacturing, I think it might be a casting or lost form casting. I mean, I'm going to technical here, but I'll pull back myself. But it is hard to manufacture it on a regular manufacturing processes.
my,
That
my
that
question would be though is would it be easier to buy? Sorry, would it be easier to buy a whole bunch of 3D printers or fix that problem?
Yeah, I would say Hyliion can choose to do a 3D printer, but at this point of time with no revenue and it's trying to scale up Carno is not the solution that as an organization they should think about. It's been since 2020 October. It's been like 3 years, and we are running that company out of zero revenue. And we have a product that is approved like a month ago, and we are abandoning that and trying to work on a product that we do not know the manufacturing process or how can that be manufactured in a mass production. Out of 100 projects like research R&D development, there are 100 projects out of which only maybe 5 or 6 products is what they can mass produce. There are so many things that were stopped because they could not do the mass production at that point of time. So again, I don't
Um,
lose faith because we at least have 2 products. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I agree, and that was my one of my main concerns with the Cardinal is that they would just run into the same problems they're running into with the ERX. And I was saying that in reference to Cummins partnership as far as the manufacturing. It was Cummins have um, the resources to manufacture the Cardinal without making it a 3D process.
Yeah, I'll be happy if they collaborated with Hyzon because they have a 200 kilowatt hydrogen fuel cell already working. The thing with ERX that I love the most is it's like a body. If you change the brain, it works again. That's what makes me invested more in the Hyliion is the solution that they have compared to uh, a regular electric truck where they need to understand how they want to integrate that to a generator or any new engine or a new power source to connect to this generator. So I think we already nailed that part. So my 2 cents on this strategic partnership pause or strategic way pause is that they're gonna continue with ERX, but they're gonna say, okay, we are looking at the revenues or we'll be collaborating with Cummins. That's the only way that I can think of the company comes out.
I mean, it is plausible to think that they've reached all their milestones to the point where market has changed, the funds have drained, and everything has went up in a cost. Where their actual next solution is partnership. I mean, I mean, everything is speculation right now. There's absolutely no proof to everything, but it is interesting. All the certifications, all the milestones, everything is be done. It's finished. All right. Now we're gonna pause. There has to be something more to it. It simply does not make sense to be a CEO invested in a company for 3 years only to pause when you reach your finish line, right? I mean, one aspect of finish line, which is the very critical one, is proving you're having a commercial viable product. So I think everything is, like I said, everything is went up in cost. There's been many changes in the market, and now they're looking for somebody to partner with, or maybe they already have somebody to partner with to take them to the next step to asset light commercialization.
I agree, and that was my question as far as the timing of their pause. Like, why now? Why do they wait? What 3 weeks before earnings call? Why not pitching this during earnings call? Why not push it out um, to further the news? There's so many questions that came up to why this is happening now for me, and it's like you mentioned, Silent Alert about they went through all the milestones, all the certifications, and a lot of things didn't make sense. Why they were doing things the way they were doing, and then we get to the finish line, and now we're seeing this move. It it lends the ear to speculation because it doesn't make sense of.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah, one reason that I thought of. Go ahead.
okay. Sorry about that. I wasn't too happy myself with, you know, I'm guessing like most of us here, um, with what Silent said. None of it makes any sense, other than the fact that maybe they were over leveraged, like I said, or maybe Thomas was kind of running rogue and was doing what he wanted, and the board of directors said, "Hey, dude, we gotta take a step back and slow our roll here." But the entire process that I've followed since I've been in this, which is a little under a year now, has slowly been downsizing. Obviously, we started with the 210 trucks, then we went to 30, and I'm like, the 30 makes sense. Maybe they're expensive to make, maybe this, maybe that, right? But they're still pushing forward to get that product out on the road. Um, but I think that now that all of a sudden it's gone to a full stop is very suspect, and it leads a lot of people to obviously do what they did and leave, and feel that they were deceived, and things like that. So I agree with everything you guys have said. I think that there's a definite path forward, but none of us know what that's going to look like, and I think that that's what's worrying everybody, and even though I agree with, I believe Strider said it, they can't come out, or maybe it was X, said that they can't come out with a whole bunch of info at the earnings call. But the fact that they, and as I said in my last video, they um, issued this press release, 15, 20 minutes after the market closed on a Tuesday, and then on a Wednesday they came and just made one regurgitated, speech without any questions. That's not a vote of confidence from really any human being that I've ever met. So that's where I'm kind of sitting. I'm kind of sitting and waiting to see if there's going to be a renewed um, trustworthiness in the company and in Thomas himself. Obviously, he's a smart guy. He's got it figured out. But at the end of the day, I think that's what it's going to take to really get people back on board with this. Even if they do come up with a plan, they, as Silent said, are going to have to uh, bring back that trust because a lot of it has been broken.
How do you bring that trust back?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're going to have to, explore our options, but um, it obviously, I work in corrections. I work with convicted criminals all day, so I don't trust any of them. But um, I think when you have a guy that comes forward and says, "Hey, look, one, I'm sorry," maybe not in those words because that makes a person look, maybe weaker than they are, but um, you know, the sentiment that I got from that call was absolute shit. And if they would have said, "Hey, look, guys, we've identified, maybe this problem with finances, or maybe this problem with production, or this problem with supply chain, and we're working through it," I probably wouldn't have been bothered by it, because that's just an upfront. Hey, look, here's what we got, and take it how you want it, and that's it. But the fact that they left everything up to speculation, I think, was really what did it in for most of us. And I think that just being straightforward is going to be a really good first step in rebuilding that trust.
I strongly agree with your comment. I strongly agree. I felt like the same way. It's like, what? Are we going to cancel this one? Put it on hold? I was really upset on that day. I strongly agree with your comment. The trust, I think, is can be brought back by the decision that Thomas is going to make. I strongly believe that we need a new CEO. I mean, people can throw stones at me, but I think we need a CEO, new CEO. He's not the guy. He is a chief technology officer. I'm okay with it. He is a Carnegie Mellon University graduate, had good credentials, has a good idea. I'm not taking away that from him. What I'm taking away from him is he might not be a good business guy. Having a good technical acumen doesn't mean he has a good business acumen. That's my point. And the decision, whatever he takes to the for the ERX, is what gonna be make me think like if he is a good CEO or not. At least that's for me. And I think the last thing that I want to say is that they only made this announcement after Cummins got approval from CARB. Um, they were just waiting to make this announcement until that certification or approval is announced publicly. That way they say that, okay, we achieved what we have done, what we have promised. Now we have to take a pause. I mean, they are trying to build a case in favor of them rather than in understanding the whole business perspective or how the people would feel.
What do you guys think the reason for pausing taking in orders is? As in, what harm does accepting new orders during the strategic review does, as long as they're not binding orders?
I think that
They,
a pause without, like I said before, without indication as to why would stop the orders anyway, because the people that want this truck are going to say, "Wait a second, what did you guys run into? What problems came up?" Because like I said, no one's going to buy. No, well, first of all, I'm not going to buy anything for $1, let alone 400,000, if I don't know that it's solid. know that it's proven, if I don't know that it's, hey, look, we worked out all the bugs or whatever. I'm not sure if any of you guys remember, but in one of the calls, it may have been Investor Day, I'm not sure, but Thomas indicated that during winter testing, they had a few things that they had to work out, that they ran into some problems. He really didn't say the word problem, but he said that there was some refinements that they were making. Uh, and, I think that obviously no one wants bad news, but I think a lot of us here, obviously we're all adults here. And one thing that I really appreciate in my life is the truth. Good, bad, and different. I really don't care. I would rather have bad news that's true than a fake, inflated truth or an inflated lie. That just really doesn't cut it for me, and I don't think it cuts it for many other people either.
Yeah, Andrea. So I have a speculation for your question. So engines we are getting from Cummins, Meritor powertrain we are getting from Cummins, the chassis and everything that is coming from Peterbilt. So they have their own individual orders. So we are at the receiving end from these three suppliers. Even if we take new orders, they cannot meet the timeline, which sucks. So I think we don't have the production ramp up or the facility that is that is good for building trucks more than maybe they are saying they can meet the 30 demand. I don't know if there is more than 30, how they're going to meet the demand. They said they have a strategic partnership with I don't remember the company name, but I think they said they're going to install our kits. We will be on their production line. Now the other companies has the power to say no or yes, or they dictate the timeline when Hyliion can get the truck. That takes away power from Hyliion to make promises to customers and deliver the product and taking new orders. That might be one of the challenges that they want to take a pause and see how they can ramp up the production. Because even after the announcement, DSV said that they have successfully tested ERX and they were happy with the results. If you see, that announcement came later to the announcement of this one. So apart from strategic partnership, it might be another partnership like Nikola had with a German company to build their fuel cell trucks in a different facility. That might be one of the. This is a speculation again. This is not. I don't have any proof. This is a speculation. This is what I think might be going as well.
My
Yeah,
only
no, I
issue
mean,
is when you branch out to too many things. If you rely on Cummins for one thing, Peterbilt on one thing, and then Hyzon on the other thing, and then another partnership with somebody else. When you branch out so much, there's going to be a weak chain in the link where you might not meet your demand. I think Hyliion should strategically focus trying to narrow down their partnership so you rely on less moving pieces. Otherwise, when you get into 500,000 orders, when you rely on so many partnerships, if something breaks internally with one partner, it echoes all the way, like all the domino effects are going to fall and you're not going to meet your demand and you lose credibility. I think they should narrow down their partnership.
That's why a partnership with Cummins makes so much more sense to me, because what we see Cummins doing is securing this supply line. It secured Meritor, secured the fuel tank manufacturers. What you see Cummins doing out uh, in the in the in this sector is buying up clean energy plays. I posted yesterday a partnership with Microsoft for telematics, bringing telematics to the commercial vehicle space. Um, what Cummins is doing is securing its supply line. They're doing, like I said, a big pick and shovels play. Bringing Hyliion in would mitigate all the problems you just mentioned as far as having issues with that supply line. Because if they become a Cummins manufacturer to supply Cummins, then Cummins would have more control over all the problems that plague Hyliion as far as supply chain, as far as high price. They could drive that down, as you mentioned before, because there's they could take off the overhead for all the individual transactions that Hyliion has to do right now. Significantly brings down the price, and they can get to economy of scale faster. There's so many ways that Hyliion and Cummins benefit from a merger with each other, and that's why to me it makes more sense. Like I know I've heard people say something about Packard merging with Packard, different other companies, and it makes less sense to me. The Cummings merger is the one that really benefits them both in a great way.
Well, at the end of the day, too, Hyliion does not want to be a truck manufacturer. They want to be a power plant provider, which is exactly what Cummins is. So I totally agree with that comment.
Yeah, and when you think of Packard, Packard doesn't want to be. I mean, Cummings is the drivetrain company, not Packard. You know, they have options that they offer, but Cummings is really the drivetrain company. And Cummings doesn't want to make its own trucks. Cummings wants to be the picks and shovels. It wants to be the supplier to these OEMs. If Hyliion partnered with Packard, what would that mean for other OEMs? What would that mean for Freightliner, for Volvo, for Mack? You know, like would Peterbilt share the wealth? Would that pigeonhole Hyliion to dealing with one OEM for the whole time? Um, that wouldn't be ideal, in my opinion, for Hyliion.
Yep, and
When
there
you
is
look,
no binding prices on individual components that was announced yet, right? So I don't think Hyliion has any commitment from Cummins that they're gonna deliver these many engines or these many powertrains if they place an order. I think those are some of the contexts. Go ahead, Silent.
right there, that's fine. I lost my train of thought. I was driving.
Sorry.
To
No,
your
no,
comment about
it's like a couple of
oh,
things
sorry.
got answered.
Oh, okay. To
No,
your
go ahead. A couple of
Brian, to your
questions got
comment
answered.
about
Yeah, that's fine.
Thomas Healy. To your comment about Thomas Healy stepping down or going to a different position. It reminded me of Steve Jobs and when uh, was it I believe it was the Macintosh when it kind of took a poop, the second version of it. How he kind of had to step down and then but he came back later. And I think that was a good idea because it he wasn't gone from the picture. He just was not the headman anymore. But it helped investor sentiment. And I think it helped give Apple a new face. And when you mentioned him stepping down as far as being like TCO, that rung a bell with me as far as the whole the Apple situation and how it helped um, investor sentiment at that time.
Yeah, but the guy who's gonna backfill him should be the good guy. However, Steve Jobs had a bad guy coming into CEO when he stepped down. So
Well, just like
I
anything,
hope.
I think having a fresh
Yeah,
face, well, maybe not a fresh face, but a face that's not associated with the CEO might be beneficial. You know, who would that be? You know, um, and at this point, I think a lot of people are still sour about it, and they're waiting for this earnings call. They're waiting for some more info, and unfortunately, we just haven't had it, and it's going to take, I think, a little more than just you know information and transparency and stuff like that, because up until this situation we find ourselves in, we felt that it was transparent. You know what I mean? So now that we've been identified that it's really not as transparent as we thought, maybe that's going to keep some people, at bay on investing more, or holding longer, or whatever the case may be.
I'm still bullish on Hylian. If you guys laugh at me, I'm still bullish.
I am only holding because I think there's no point selling now for what it's worth, like £3,000. Um, but I think, yeah, I don't see a way forward at this point, which makes it very difficult to be bullish.
Yeah, I think I
yeah,
understand your point, but my point is I'm only bullish because of the money that they have right now and some of the key decisions that they could make to bring them out of the current situation of being at the receiver and receiving end from Cummins or Peterbilt, that they can use those funds and then make the situation better. And also we have a proven product. I mean, you can say like other companies also do have, but I think hybrid technology was with ERX, I guess. I don't know if there is another company who has got approval, which kind of for hybrid, like ERX, a similar truck like ERX got approval and can mass produce. So those are my things.
I wouldn't say I was bullish or bearish at this point. I'm kind of in purgatory. I don't know what I am. I'm taking all rational opinions and speculations, kind of just weighing it out. And I say that only because I don't know what the future holds. Like, if there's a merger with Cummins, obviously I'm bullish. If we kind of stay in this holding pattern for longer than we should be, I'm not going to be bullish. I'll tell you that now. But um, I have to see what the guidance is before I think I would fall on either bullish or bearish territory. Right now, I'm just kind of I'm taking in a whole lot of information, the very little that we're given. I'm weighing it. I'm thinking of different dimensions in which Hyliion succeeds and other dimensions in which Hyliion fails, and I'm trying to see which way we're going and which one we're leaning towards.
Yeah, I think that's really where everyone's landed at right now, brother. I think that there's just so many unknowns. There was plenty of excuse me, plenty of unknowns before, with one, who's going to get the trucks, when are all the trucks going to be delivered, X, Y, Z, and now the question is where are the trucks? What's the plan for the trucks? What's the plan for Carno? There's no answers, and unfortunately, we're just not humans are not designed to function well in an arena with no information. We just don't. We like to have answers to our questions. So I totally agree with that.
It is very interesting.
Absolutely.
Probably a year.
Go ahead.
It was very interesting about a year ago, I believe, roughly, when we had orders coming in from like Wholesome and Ruan, and like there were like 10, 50 orders, and then all of a sudden everything stopped, and it just didn't make sense. How do you go from like a very consistent order book to absolutely a full stop? And I wish we played a little game where we called up a Hyliion and said, all right, we're interested. We're going to place an order for 10 ERX. What is the next process? Obviously, they would say, you want to test it out and whatnot. But it would have been interesting to know is what was the pause? Like, why all of a sudden was the pause? Like, they can't disclose that, but they can say, oh, we're not taking more orders, but then they have to state that publicly. And we also had sales rep who left Hyliion as well, which would indicate there's not going to be commercialization happening anytime soon, because as a sales rep, you're paid a commission as well to a degree once you hit that stage. But it just, to me, that was one of the, not a red flag, but a bit of a discouragement. So how do you go from order book getting to one point to complete pause for a year? And why was nothing disclosed? Why is there a pause in the order book? Was there no more interest? Is it something that you're telling clients? Is the product going further validation? Like, why that pause of like those orders? That was just an interesting thing to me.
And that leans to my 10 hat speculative idea that it was Cummings' idea to partner with Hyliion the whole time. I think, like, was this whole 12-liter Cummins engine ERX, was it just to prove to Packard and Cummins that they could do it? They had a working proof of concept that had merit. Why stop the order book if there's no demand? If demand is low, if nobody wants the ERX, then why the heck do you need to stop an order book? You don't need to complete orders if you go bankrupt, or if you go tits up. We just saw, who was it, EVgo, that went bankrupt, and they had 500 customers, 500 orders on their ordering book. So you don't need to close your ordering book to um, to redesign to review your company, and that's what made me. That's also kind of made me think like, is there something else going on? Like, why would you need to? And you guys can, if I'm wrong, you guys can correct me on this, but why would you need to close your ordering book unless if you were to partner with somebody, you could not offer what you would offer as far as if they wanted to put an order forward, you would have to go back and renegotiate later. So maybe is that why they would close their ordering book if they weren't able to, well, to place an order with Hyliion and they partner with Cummins, that changes things. That changes how the product is offered. That changes the pricing. That changes so much. It could change the warranty. That could change a lot of different factors. So would it make more sense to pause the ordering book because of potential changes in warranties and potential changes in pricing versus there not just being any demand?
I agree with that.
I think if you guys recall, there was this one gentleman who said that his order was not accepted by Hyliion. I think a long back ago, I was tracking the comments. I think this decision to put a hold on taking orders is not new to Hyliion. They are just announcing it to us. At least that's what I think.
Well, Hyliion did that because they weren't accepting orders from individual people. They were going with major, or not say major fleets, but bigger fleets. In the beginning, in the very beginning, Hyliion was taking individual orders from truckers or from small fleets, but they pivoted as Hyliion does and decided not to go that route. So I don't know what situation you're talking about or when it happened, but I know that Hyliion would stop taking orders from smaller fleets.
So, what are your guys'
Yeah, I
thinking
recall
on the way forward? Do like a quick little roundtable. What do you guys think is going to happen as far as sentiment, direction, etc.?
I personally think it's too early to make a decision on at this point of time. I mean, if you want to buy, I'm bullish, so I'm gonna buy some stock to get my average down. But at this point, I'm not gonna sell any of my shares because I have faith in the company because of the product that we have at hand. That's my thing. Based on the quarterly meeting and how much Hyliion is gonna emphasis on saying that they are going to invest on Carno, it might be a strong pushback from me. I'm not worried about ERX. ERX is a product that's like somebody wanted. I know there is somebody who wants that product and trying to make us twist our hand to sell it to them. It might be Cummins or it might be somebody else.
I would say
Thomas
going
did
forward,
say,
like I mentioned, but
go ahead, yeah. No, go ahead. I'll wait.
I was gonna say I would say going forward, I still am buying at these low prices. But as mentioned before, I'm not bearish or bullish. I'm just like kind of in a holding pattern. But I'm buying more at these prices to lower my dollar cost, uh, just to add some more safety to my investment. I do plan on selling for tax reasons as soon as I can. I'm waiting towards the end of the year. That way I can wait my 30 days and I want to keep buying, and then I'll buy 30 days out from the new year, and just to lower my dollar costs. I'm selling those shares that I bought at $30, getting those out of my portfolio for tax reasons. But I am buying, and I'm buying because, as I mentioned before in the Discord, with Hyliion having like $1.50 per share price in cash, and the book value being over $2, it's at these prices. Um, if Hyliion just went for book value per share, it would triple, double for cash. So it makes more sense as far as securing and protecting my investment to buy these at these prices and sell off the higher shares I have. So that's what I'll continue to do, and I'll watch the landscape and go from there.
Yeah, Thomas did mention there were some catalysts that are going to come in months ahead. So, and he did hint a little bit that Cardinal Stationary, there are some talks with energy plays out there. So, I believe there's some positivity that's going to probably come out of here. My only concern is going to be what is the outcome of that final statement going to be? Are we going to pause and hold ERX and then pivot completely to Cardinal Stationary to start generating some early profits and then go back to ERX? My, I just hate to be tied to a play. There's going to be another 2 years of R&D and proof of concept. I don't think that's going to happen, but to me as well, I'm just in a holding pattern. I did sell a portion of the shares as well. It was more of an emotional play, which right now I can rebuy at a lower cost. But I just I might start nibbling at it a little bit, but I really want to see what's going to be the outcome of this. I do remain a bit bullish, but it just everybody got caught off guard with the statement and how quickly it is. And what Thomas Haley read, it was just a legal mumbo jumbo, which I think he was obviously obligated and forced to do that. I don't think he wanted to do it, but it had to be done for legal purposes because there is internal discussions happening, whatever the outcome is going to be. So I'm on a hold for now.
And I'm the same. I'm just holding to see what happens. Obviously, there is a part of me that's hoping everything is going to work out. So continuing to invest time into the building this community, and if Hyliion works out, hopefully we could have that investor party one day. I did buy 1,000 shares at 60 cents, but I think I'll look to sell it. Hopefully, if it goes up again, just because I'm saving for something else.
Yeah, I think we
Sorry,
got.
guys, I got to head out, but this was a great chat. Hey, thanks, Andreas, for hosting. I just have to get back to kids.
All right, Silent. You have a good day right there, man. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, you too, guys. It's been a pleasure.
See you.
So I think, guys,
Take it easy, bro.
I think this is a really good success. I'm glad we got able to get together here. I also, as well, with Silent, need to I need to get back to sleep here. I got to get to sleep in under an hour. So, any closing statements, guys? Any closing thoughts that you want to get recorded? I am recording this, so I'll put it on my channel here a little bit later on. If you guys want to go back and check out what was discussed.
Well, I just want to thank you all for
I would just
joining.
say
So yeah, I'll just finish. Just wanted to say thanks to everyone for joining, and I think we should host one of these again after the earnings call, like a week or 2 weeks after, when we had time to process information and see what happens.
What do you think, X?
I was gonna. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, as far as the sentiment, hang tight. I know it ain't easy. This is really hard for everybody. I know there's more people in the Discord that are more stoic and people that are more emotional. And there's nothing wrong with either one of those. But just try to keep your head clear, make wise decisions, logical decisions. Because we're dealing with money, and put your, put your best foot forward.
Yep, I agree. What do you think, Andrews? Think we're good? I'm gonna cut this feed whenever you're ready, or cut the recording whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sounds good to me. It's been an hour, so I think everyone has things to do. Yeah, let's. I'm gonna disconnect and leave the stage.
All right, guys. You guys have a great one.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye.